So I'm now in QGIS and we've prepared our data and we're ready to open it as a layer. So what I'm going to do here is click Add Delimited Text Layer because our information right now is in the form of a CSV. And I'm going to navigate to where that file is located. I believe it's called locounts.csv. So CSV, it's point coordinates, and it already knows that the x field is lon, the y field is lat, which is nice. And so all we have to do is hit OK. So now it's asking me which coordinate system I want to use. WGS 84 is fine. Okay. Wow, look at that. So we have all the points ready, and you can see that the Pacific Northwest is pretty heavy here. The Northeast as well. We got some places in Europe, Asia. One thing that would be nice to do here is do graduated method size. And whatever. For now, we'll just do 5 classes just to show you what all this looks like. We'll do it by count, classify. There we go. Wow. So you can clearly tell that the biggest cities here, well, I happen to remember, are Seattle, New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. But it'd be nice to get some sort of backdrop here, get some sort of borders going just for context. And this part actually turned out to be way more of a hassle than I thought it would be. And I'll show you what I mean. So first of all, I wanted just a plain world borders. So I Googled for a bunch of stuff and it was all restricted. You know, the ArcGIS products, they're pretty good, but they're only available to subscribers and that costs a lot of money. This OpenStreetMap data is not great because it has good land polygons but doesn't have political boundaries. So I had to use GADM, which is one of my favorite sites, just plain, simple, nice administrative borders. So I had to go down here, click whole world, click this link. So download the shapefile for 6 dissolved layers because I only want the top, the admin 0, so the country boundaries. But the unfortunate thing about this data set is that it's really just overkill. I mean, you download this shapefile, the zipped file is something like 800 megabytes. And then you unzip it and there's all the admin levels down to municipality level or whatever. And I'll show you something else. So once you enter this folder and load up the admin 0 shapefile, you can see that it's taking a while to load. And the reason is that every single little coastal feature is immaculately represented, and we really don't need this. This is the scale that we're working at is a global scale, and we just don't need that kind of extra precision. It's only going to slow us down. So what I had to do with this was go into geometry tools, simplify geometries. Still takes a little bit to load, and I don't fully understand QGIS's simplify tool because clearly all these tiny islands in Greece are still there even though they're way below the threshold. And also I don't really like how there's these gaps between the countries. You can't really see them when you're zoomed out super far, but it still is kind of annoying, and there's no built-in ArcGIS style integrate tool to get rid of these gaps. So that's just going to be something that I will have to live with. At the very least, we can sort of slip that underneath. Let's say I prefer gray with white borders, and I prefer the borders to be as thin as possible. To make it sort of more interesting, what I thought we could do was use a projection that's actually centered on Vancouver. Because the way the map currently is, Vancouver is sort of off to the side. And that doesn't make a lot of sense if the thing you're focusing on is Vancouver. Now, it took me a while to figure out how to make custom projections here, but what you do is, oh gee, you can't see this. Okay, that sucks. You go to settings, and it says custom CRS here. I know it's cut off. It says custom CRS. You copy an existing projection, so World Robinson. Robinson's nice. And then you alter the parameter so that the longitude, instead of being the prime meridian, 0, you want it to be negative 123, which is right about where Vancouver is located. So you do that, you hit OK, and then you go over here, and now I have this projection. So first of all, enable, on-the-fly transformation, of course. I have this projection now that's called Vancouver Robinson. So it's the exact same as a normal Robinson projection, except the prime meridian now is negative 123 instead of 0. Hit Vancouver Robinson, hit OK down here. Yeah, so it turns out that when a shape file wraps around a projection, QGIS does not do a great job of supporting that. So the way we solve this problem is kind of a stupid workaround, but I just sort of found the answer online, and it's annoying that I have to do this, but whatever. So we're going to switch back to WGS 84, and we're going to turn off on-the-fly transformation. So now what we have to do is essentially take that area where that wraparound occurs, which is somewhere here, here, and basically delete those endpoints so that they just no longer exist. The way we do that is by creating a text file in this extremely specific format, nr::wkt semicolon polygon, and you define the corners of your polygon. 89.99 stays the same because that's just all the way up to the North Pole and South Pole, almost, but not exactly. And then 57.01 and 56.99, that depends on where your prime meridian is going to be. So notice how Vancouver is at minus 123, 180 degrees minus 123 degrees is 57. Save that as a text file. Now what we're going to do is create a layer from delimited text file. We're going to navigate to this text file, which I called poly.txt. And this is already all set up, but you have to select custom delimiters, semicolon, and well-known text. And you see that here it just creates a single feature, which is a polygon with the following vertices. Okay? WGS 84. Okay? So notice how this straight line happens, and that's exactly what we want. It just created a feature, which is this nice rectangle. Now we go to Vector, Geoprocessing Tools, Difference. Basically, we just want to erase everything that's underneath this extremely thin rectangle that we just created. So our input layer is going to be simplified 0. That's just what I called our countries. Difference layer is the poly. And I'm going to skip through this, but this actually might take a decently long amount of time. And here we go. So now we can remove our thin polygon. We can remove our original simplified layer. And what we can do now is go back over here to our projections, enable on the fly again, choose Vancouver Robinson, hit OK. And because we deleted this layer that wraps around, there's no more problem now. We deleted that extremely thin sliver. There's still a slight problem in Antarctica. As much as I hated to do this, I just kind of went into here, selected Antarctica, and hit delete. It's not particularly relevant to this map, even though it does make me feel sad that it's gone, but whatever. Now we're basically ready to just format stuff, play around with colors, play around with symbols, but the actual geographical stuff is pretty much done. So in the next part, I'm going to cover my styling and formatting and presentation of this data.